2A girls.
Mm-hmm.
We have a Quitman team that's been a favorite all year long.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a Sloan-Hendrix team that just put on a great run
Mm-hmm.
in the state tournament. I think a lot of people thought you had this big four that included Quitman and Dirks and Barton. I thought a lot of people thought you were going to see a Barton Quitman state championship matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And Sloan-Hendrix, those girls came out. They immediately got ahead of Barton.
Mm-hmm.
Did a really good job of making Demaya just not getting easy looks.
Uncomfortable.
She got off to a slow start. Barton got behind.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Sloan-Hendrix did a good job of just, playing their game, trying to get, you're not going to stop Demaya. I think she still ended up with 20,
I think 24, 25, something like that.
You're not going to stop her.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can do what they did to her in the first half and get Barton behind and play
Mm-hmm.
from behind, that's how Sloan-Hendrix came out with that win.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that matchup with Quitman, though?
Our guy Rich Sharp, he came to 6A one maybe Wednesday, I think it was, and I happened to have 2A open on my screen, and he was like, "Man, you're working 6A and watching 2A," and I can't remember who was playing, but I told you, when we spoke a couple weeks ago, that 2A has always been my toughest classification to rank when it comes to ranking teams, and I told him I literally the last 8 teams that were standing in state tournament, I think all could have made a run at state title, from Southside beat Barents to Poland to Dirks to of course Quitman, Sloan, but these 2 teams they're no surprise one bit that they're in the finals. I think Quitman has won something like 24, 25 in a row, something like that. I think Sloan, the only 2A school that's beaten Sloan this year was Riverside. That was earlier in the year. I think Manila beat them late in the year. And Manila, we're going to talk about them in a minute here as well. But these 2 teams being here don't shock me one bit. They've been 2 of the best in 2A all year long, and they, Sloan, the Barton game, it got close late, but they've been on a tear. But Quitman, they played a game. They beat Barton in the regional final last week as well. And like I said, Quitman's been consistent all year, man. And Coach Hooten does a tremendous job. He's been there for a long time.
It's just an incredible program.
Incredible program, man. He's consistent year in and year out. They're always going to be in the mix. So this is one of the matchups where we're getting 2 really, really good teams in the classification. There's no fluke about either one of them. It's going to be knocked down, drag out, and we talked about Earl and Westside possibly being a toss-up. This one may be along those lines as well.
Well, and you said it's no fluke, and it's no fluke because 2A was so deep, and we talked about those top teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's no fluke because, man, Sloan-Hendrix had to beat a lot of good teams to get to this point.
Exactly, literally.
They're led by a couple of girls that they can get up and down, and these girls can not only score but really, really rebound the basketball and keep people off the offensive boards.
Right.
What can they do to give Quitman problems?
They can't get behind early. And Quitman's a team that, if they get out on a 12, 13, 14 point lead, it's going to be really, really tough sledding for you to come back because they put their foot in your neck and they keep it there for the most part, man. And they've done it all year long. They've taken punches. State had some tight games with Southside beat Branch, of course. The game with Barton, they led, I think for the better part of it, but it was still Barton is Barton. Barton is good, and so they kept charging back, and they maintained, a lead in that one. And then, come to state tournament, they're doing the same thing, But I don't think, and this goes for Sloan as well. Neither one, I think, can afford to just get behind early. They've got to keep it right there within distance. And again, these one game scenarios, man, anything can happen. And one team gets hot, the other one's not. You got to rebound the ball and you got to defend. That's what it's going to come down to just about every game. If you're rebounding and defending, generally your offense, you hope catches up with all of that. But if you're doing those other two things well, then you're going to have a chance to win regardless. And I think that's going to be the case for actually both of these teams, you know. And I think it's the same tactic for both. They just can't fall into an early hole. You know, in that arena, the open gym, the lighting is a little bit different, but sometimes it can affect shooting. So I think whichever teams can adjust quicker and play well off the bat is going to have an advantage. Now, which team that is, who knows? Because both of these teams are so good, man.
They're both good and they're both well coached.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
both have their systems.
Mm-hmm.
All right, E, 2A state championship game. Who you got? I'm
going with Quitman, man. They hadn't lost in 2-3 months, however, whatever ridiculous number it is, man. I've got to go with Quitman, man. When Coach who normally when he gets his team there, they generally finish off the deal, man. So I'm going to go with Quitman, man. But it's just like the last game, with Earl and Westside. It wouldn't shock me one bit if Sloan came out and did his thing. Like I said, the only team from 2A that's beating them was Riverside, and they've actually beaten Riverside as well.
Right.
So they've beaten every 2A team they faced, this year. But yeah, I'm going to go with Quitman, man. I think right now they have such a confidence about them, that no matter who they're playing, they're going to come out there and win the game. So I'm going to roll with the Lady Dogs.